Alien Romulus is in theaters now. Directed by Fede Alvarez, this is the 9th movie in the Alien franchise. Taking place in between the first two movies in the franchise, Alien and Aliens, Alien Romulus is taking the series back to its roots with an isolated haunted house in space adventure. Hello, my name is Gavin, and I am an entertainment enthusiast, and welcome to Overleveled Film. Not only just the channel, but also to the inaugural video here on this channel. Earlier this week, I got to see Alien Romulus with a buddy of mine and a packed theater full of other Alien fans. The whole Alien franchise has been all over the place in regards to how people have seen it for its quality, for its horror elements. It's had some of the best movies in the entire genre and some of the worst movies, in my opinion, ever made. But through the good and the bad, I've been an Alien fan for almost my whole life. Not just the movies, but even reading many of the comics as well as the video games, specifically games like Alien Isolation. These are some of my favorite things to come from the Alien franchise. And of all of the directors to choose to make the next Alien movie, Fede Alvarez, hands down, was one of the better picks in my opinion, and I was so excited to see this movie. But it was just such an amazing experience being back in a full theater full of fans of this franchise who are excited to just see a scary Alien movie again, and I couldn't have had a better time. It was wonderful. But let's talk about the cast that we have for a second, because this movie goes back to what the first two Alien movies did really well, and that's just have a group of characters who are kind of these blue-collar workers, so to say, who are just trying to do a specific job and are trying to better their own lives and get out of a situation that they hate being in, and they're trying to break free of that. And to do so, in this story, they are going and stealing materials from another spaceship so that they can escape their desolate life that they have on this pretty grim planet. A simple enough premise, but it was enough to at least make me feel at home back in the Alien series. I know this review is a little late compared to other people who got to see the movie early or right whenever the movie came out, but I'm just gonna say it again that as far as the standout characters go here in this movie, I'm just gonna repeat what everyone else has said already, and that is that Rain and Andy really are the standout characters. The dynamic of their relationship, kind of having this adoptive, familial feel between the two characters, is incredibly effective throughout the movie. And any time that you can see that one of them is hurting in one way, you can feel the other character feeling and caring for them in a very familial way, and it was just nice to see that dynamic. Andy in particular, though being an android on this ship, he's not a real human, he shows off some of the most human emotions in my opinion. Those two characters primarily are some of the best written characters in this movie. Some of the other characters are not as well written as those two. Some were definitely more likable than others, but overall, I didn't have a huge problem with the cast, besides maybe one or two of the characters. And by problem, I just mean that I didn't necessarily care about them at all. For me personally, when watching movies like this, like horror movies or big sci-fi movies like this, sound design really is an important thing for me, and I feel like the sound design, as well as just the overall atmosphere and the tone of this film, was spot on. It was basically everything that I was looking for in an Alien movie. It's hard to even really get specific when discussing things like the sound design here in this film, because whatever you can imagine is the best possible scenario for the sound design for a movie like this. I mean, this movie just nails that. It perfects it in my opinion. I love the audio design in this movie. It really just put the cherry on top with the overall atmosphere. Speaking of atmosphere, I know Fede Alvarez took a lot of inspiration from, like I mentioned, one of my favorite things in this franchise, and that is Alien Isolation, one of the better horror games that I've ever played. And that game is so claustrophobic, it is so tight in its atmosphere, and it just nails what kind of encapsulates the horror of the Alien franchise in that game. And I was just so happy to see all of the little things here and there that I recognized them. I noticed those things and thought, that is from Alien Isolation. That fully was just taken from the feeling that that game brought to us. and I love it. I love what the movie did just in taking inspiration from Alien Isolation and of course the original 2 Alien films. Not every single thing about the movie worked for me as well as I was hoping though. Things like the atmosphere, things that I felt really mattered, the xenomorph, the horror elements of it, a lot of it really did work for me, but there were just a few moments here and there that kind of got under my skin just a little bit, especially just after reflecting and thinking about the movie a little bit more. So we'll talk about those here. Slight spoiler for the movie here, but kind of as we enter that third act of the film, there is a scene in an elevator shaft where our main character falls essentially down to her death, but is saved by one of the xenomorphs. And it was this kind of interesting feeling of, okay, are we seeing a nice xenomorph here? What's going on here? And the xenomorph also definitely seemed like it wanted to kill our main character. So I was just a little confused there, what we're doing there. Why did they make it to where the xenomorph saved our main character? It just felt a little off the beaten path of what we had been experiencing so far throughout the movie. Maybe that xenomorph wanted to get revenge on her on its own, and instead of just letting her fall all the way down to her death, and that's why he saved her life. Yeah, I don't really know what was going on there, why they really thought that it was the right move to have a xenomorph save her life. It just felt a little bit weird in that moment, and then immediately the xenomorph dies. So, I don't know, it's just kind of one of those moments in the movies that had me kind of scratching my head a little bit. There's also the ending scene of the movie that I actually think was done pretty well the more that I continue to think about this movie. And as a fan of Prometheus, the kind of ties that Prometheus and Alien Covenant were kind of adding into the ending of this film, I'm a little bit mixed on it, and I know that it's definitely been a point of contention online for a lot of other fans as well. So if you're just someone who hasn't seen the movie and you're just watching my review of it, just be aware that it's the final maybe 10 or 15 minutes or so of this movie where the movie really starts to take some big swings, and maybe for you it's going to hit every time, but maybe for other people as well it's probably going to miss, just depending on if you liked kind of that Alien Covenant, Prometheus storytelling stuff. But overall, this was a fantastic movie, and honestly, just as a theater experience, it was one of the best movies that I've gotten to see in the theater in a very long time, at least since lockdowns and everything like that. This really felt like, for me, one of the better experiences that I had in the theater. Just being back in that room full of people who are there to see an alien movie, who are there to see a horror movie. And you can just feel the tension. If you get a chance to see this movie with a group of people, I really think that it is a wonderful entry in the Alien franchise and just a wonderful theater experience. But those are all my thoughts and opinions on Alien Romulus. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments below what you thought about Alien Romulus. Also, in the description below, you can find a link to my primary YouTube channel, Overleveled Games, where I talk about video games, story-driven games, RPGs, horror video games as well. So if you're a fan of stuff like Alien Romulus and Alien Isolation, I haven't got to talk about that game just yet on my channel, but I've talked about a couple of other horror games as well. So if any of that interests you, go ahead and check out Overleveled Games in the description below and consider subscribing. Also consider subscribing here to this channel as well. This is my, like I mentioned in the beginning, inaugural video on this channel. So if you want to see more stuff like this, I'll be talking about other films that I saw like Deadpool and Wolverine, Twisters, Longlegs, Inside Out 2. These are just a couple of the movies that I just recently got to see in the theater, so stay tuned for reviews and discussions on those movies. And with all of that said, I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.